Okay. This is day 2. So, hi. Onegaishimasu. So we'll just start the same way as yesterday. So just use this shoulder width posture. Just kind of bouncing the body through the vertical. It's a little bit cold. Just start to kind of just do it a bit more actively, leaving the ground. And coming down. And just trying to get the feeling you're kind of really moving from the head. So trying to kind of the center point of the head. You imagine you've got a string attached to it, and next one's pulling it up, and then letting it go. Pulling it up, letting it go. Okay, stepping the feet a little bit, and then coming down into the chest. Pulling back, pulling forward. Again, if you can imagine like a string attached right to the center of this whole area, right into the chest. And for me, it's like where the gi just overlaps, just this point. It's that, and if you just imagine the string and someone's kind of pulling it forward, pulling it to the back. And just explore the balance, front and back. Coming out of balance, forward, coming out of balance to the back. Just trying to kind of find the center of it each time. Exploring the feet, the toes, the heels. Also through the arm movement, going forward, going back. And it's a kind of attempt to move the head in a way, like this kind of thing. Again, just see if you can basically lower the movement down. Remember this whole area, the lower ribs, all this area. And again, if you imagine someone with a string attached to the center, the movement's going to kind of get pulled out from that part of the body. If you imagine the body like a series of stones stacked up on top of each other, this one's like taking this middle stone and kind of taking it out of the structure. And then let the whole structure follow that. And mobilize this whole area. And playing with the feet now, you're really working the blades of the feet. So the instep, the outstep. And just again to explore it, working a little bit of a different area of the foot. Also feel free to include the arms in the movement. Just help you open the whole area out a little bit more. Good. And then just coming into a light rotation. Just let the arms sink to the sides. And now really working the hip area. And just again, feel the feet relaxing more into the ground. And just listen to which part of the foot you're kind of working. Now it's a much more complex movement. So you're working different areas of the feet as you do it. You'll probably find, or what I find as I do it, I'm working the front foot on this side, this whole side, and then the back foot on this side. And it switches as I go the other way. It's a little bit like drawing the feet out, front and back. And you start to increase the movement with the hands. Just notice that weight shift, which is a bit more extreme. And just be careful in this case, because we're starting to now really, in a way, work the knees and working with a spiraling rotation. Just watch that I don't twist against the knee joint. So the knee's really a hinge joint. So just have the sense that you're gonna just use the knee as a hinge and not twist against it. So if I do these kind of movements, where I'm kind of twisting against the knee, it's gonna start to degrade the knee. So just get the sense that the knee's just falling into the toes or falling into the foot. It's not going to kind of twist against the outer structure. And just exaggerate this a little bit, but get the sense that again the hips kind of pop the movement out. It's like the arms are kind of at the side. It's as if they're kind of stuck with Velcro, and then it's like they release, they release, and then they stick back to the body. So imagine the arms are kind of sticky, heavy, and the hips releasing. Here we go. That's it. That's it. Good, and then the last direction is this kind of inside-outside, so quite a strange direction. Just first work with these kind of opening, closing movements. Okay. And just again, notice what's happening in the footwork. Again, you've got quite a complex movement, so what's happening now, you'll find you're probably closing into the instep. As you come in, this way closing in, kind of closing into the archway, inside blade. Here, and then as you come out, opening out to the heel, and then the outstep of the foot. And just let the weight of the body take that over. So you go inside, curl it, outside, open everything up. And just go between these two extremes. The most I can curl forward, and the most I can kind of open out to the back. Really using the legs, the lower body, as much as you can. Start to each time bring the body down more and more. Open out more and more to the back. So eventually you're kind of coming down into a kind of squat position. Open and everything. And close it down. That's it. Good. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, and in terms of this move, this is again, it's quite easy to do with the arms. So in a way like go, there's try and get in a sense like this. You're working just here, so it's as if this part of the hip, this kind of soft part is really like folding. So the movement in a way is coming from here. This doesn't kind of, maybe we don't do these movements quite a lot in Aikido, but if you think about Ushirodori, or when we're being grabbed from behind, we do these kind of movements where you close the body in and then you open the body out to the back. So we use these movements quite a lot actually, if you can kind of get the sense of opening and closing. This is a little bit extreme, but get the sense that the whole pelvis is going to kind of run, open out. What I want to do now is really center the body in the feet, make the movement a bit smaller, but make it flexible. But just start to kind of pass the wave through the whole spine. And just start small so that you can really feel the kind of chain of the spine. So I want the movement to kind of pass through each vertebra and back. Pass through and then back. And just get the idea of it kind of starting in the center and passing back. There we go. And as you feel kind of connected more and more, just start to increase the weight. And what I want you to exaggerate now is the raise of the movement. Imagine kind of raising the sword, raising up, and then the drop down, so dropping the weight down into the ground. Imagine the weight of the body drawing up and then dropping down, dropping down. And just if you could just emphasize different parts of it, so you can really emphasize the raise from the ground, or you can really emphasize the drop to the feet. Just play with Slightly changing the emphasis in the movement. You just start to feel the heaviness of the body as you do it. That's it. And just explore the breath as well as you do it. So make sure to breathe. Explore the breath in, the breath out as you do the movement. You can change it. You can breathe in as you raise up, breathe out as you go down, or you can do the opposite. Just explore it a little bit. That's it, Nick. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Great. Good. Okay, we'll just do some specific stretches for the shoulders because we're doing a lot of weapon work. These are good if you get if you feel the shoulders get tight in any part of the day or anything. These are nice kind of stretches to do. So just specifically for the shoulders, just stretch out the arms across the front. The shoulders are really complex joints, so it's very easy to injure it because it works in a quite a complex way. So really important we take care of the shoulders. Cross. Okay, the next one you're just going to take the wrist at the top, draw it across, and it's as if you're drawing the bicep across the back of the head. And you can do this as one hold. All of these you can do like one hold, or you can do them in a way like pulsing. So if you feel quite flexible in the joint, I recommend kind of a little bit pulsing through it. And if you feel a little bit stiff some days, just kind of hold it. Keep the breath flowing. Change the side. Just roll the bicep across the head. And they're not necessarily for stretching. Well, they are stretching, but they're really for kind of opening the joint up. So they shouldn't be painful at all. Do the same again. You're going to take the hand. What I want is the same stretch, but a little bit different. I want you to feel like this whole side of the body goes dead. So it's like this whole body, the whole side goes loose. And then I want you to feel is like this side is going to drag the arm across. So you're going to slightly go into a kind of bend. But rather than kind of actively going with it, what I want you to do is like as if the arm's pulling back down towards the ground. There we go. And then just change it. And just so that you can create more and more space in the joint. So it's there. Feel that this whole side goes kind of dead. Heavy weight. Like a kid that doesn't want to go to bed. That doesn't. Just draw it out. Good. Okay, next one, across the back. So you're going to take the arm at the back. And you're just going to draw it across the body. Again, just think about creating space in the shoulder blades, this whole region. Sinking. Oh, someone unknown. I let them in. Good. And then again, just change sides, draw it across. And again, feel free to kind of draw it across, take it back. Draw it across, take it back. Or you can just hold it as you do it. Again, just feel you're kind of opening the space out in the shoulders. That's it. Good.
Keep up the G.
Oh, hello. Okay, good.
First kata.
Hello. Then you're going to link the.
Shudan.
Hello. Oh, I'm gonna mute.
Do Basaidai. Do Basaidai. Do you know
Okay.
I am karate master.
Okay, cool.
When I
Bye bye. Adios. Okay, link the fingers and just stretch up through the body. So when you do this one, hello. Okay, need a balance. So you're going to do this. Think about opening the chest out. So slightly pull the chest out to the front. And this is about really opening the shoulder blades. So just lift the arms up as high as you can. Stretch up, open the chest. Arc the back a little bit. Just hold it. Take a nice deep breath as you do it. Feel the expansion in the rib cage will kind of increase the space in the joint as well. Just open it. And then as you breathe out, just release it down. Good. And then we'll do the same one, keep the fingers linked. Just get the feet a little bit wider. Tilt from the pelvis. And then just raise the hands up to the back. Do this nice and slow again. Keep the breath moving. Keep the breath going, flowing. And just bring the hands up a little bit further. And just use the position to just increase the stretch a little bit. Don't stretch too much, and it shouldn't be painful again. It's just about opening the space up. Release through the head as much as you can. Take a few deep breaths. And then nice and slowly release it. Come back up. Good. Okay, just take the hands to the front so you're clasping them here. And then just start to roll the hands like this. Keep the palms in contact. Oh, someone else, Andrew. Andrew has joined, entered the waiting room. Okie dokie. And just do both directions with the wrists. Just feel the shoulders release back and down to the body. Good. And then just open it out a little bit like this. You're kind of waving through the whole joint. You're making a kind of wave through the wrists, through the fingers. And just in this case, just listen to the shoulders. Just feel what's happening in the shoulders. If you feel any kind of tension as you make the movement, especially as you go to this point, as the elbow starts to come out, just listen to the shoulder. If you feel any stress in the joint, and release it. Good. Okay, and then just take the palms like this. So you kind of don't cross the fingers, just like this, and you're just going to kind of squeeze, as if you're squeezing a really tight ball in front of the hands. And I just want you to feel, in this case, I can focus on the hands, or I can really focus on the core of the body and the center. So just focus on the shoulders dropping back and down. If they roll back, and then as I increase that pressure, feel that the hands tighten. And you're also going to drop the weight down into the ground. So it's a really simple exercise, but just get the sense that the back of the body's like lighting up, and then the hands basically close, seal down. And if you can imagine taking like a nikkyo or gripping someone, it's this kind of quality where I need to kind of drain the body down and really seal the grip in the hand. So you think about like a nikkyo, sankyo, they've all got this kind of quality, or just taking the sword. So it's got this kind of quality where I'm kind of sinking the weight and really engaging the core, so that you should feel like that. And then this is kind of flexible, but very, very engaged with the center. Don't. Okay, good. And then just take the hands here, just by the side, just close the grip. So you're going to do like dun. And you can do this in a way that's like just that, but think about bokken work and grip work. You're going to kind of close the hands from the bottom. So if you imagine like a flower kind of closing, something kind of sealing up, or like an armadillo, they go like into the core, and then open it out, and just feel you make a really kind of heavy fist. So it's not about being tight, the fist, it's about being kind of heavy. So again, just watch the body that you're gonna do something like sinking down. And then when you get to this position, really feel this is very tight. The body's flexible but really heavy. And it's like the center's just engaged fully with the move. That's that. And just release it. We'll just do a few. Really feel the kind of tightness in the body. Down. Okay, now you're going to do the same thing. Do the same thing with the body, but rather than make a fist, you're going to take the hands out. And what you're going to do is like screw the hands up. Tick, 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 this. So just, you can go from this position and you can take a side with it. It's not too important. What's important is what's happening in the body and in the center. So really feel that the center's kind of engaged back. And then, and then release it. And And really feel again, the center's going to engage. So all this kind of hip work, this flexibility work with the body, in a way you want to kind of utilize it now, but I'm really working with a good, nice, strong structure. Just play with that. And you'll find if the more I kind of reach out and extend, the more I've got to drop the feeling down. The less I drop the feeling down, the more I'll start to kind of fall out of the base. So just think that you settle into the base. That's it. And you can make this as active or as complex as you like. The key things is that what's happening in the body and in the core is being reflected out into the hands. There you go. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, and then just watch the hands again. So the same with the fist, this idea of like closing the fist. In this case, feel it from the center point of the hand. There's a kind of, there's an opening out. So this is really like a kind of flower, like a petals opening. And you're doing that with the hand. And then what you're doing with the wrist is like this. So you're doing this kind of motion with the wrist. So at the same time, what's happening is that and that, that and that. And just try and link those together. This is also kind of wrist mobility issue. That and that, that and that. That's it. There we go. Nice. Great. Great. Okay, just take the bokken. So we'll do the opposite way that we did yesterday. Yesterday we kind of worked the body first and then went to the bokken. We're going to do bokken first and then we'll work the body. So just all I want to focus on, we're going to look at this kind of grip and this kokyu way because it's a really, really important issue. And I think it's one issue that gets kind of overlooked a lot. So we talk about it, but we don't necessarily explain it so much. This is kokyu and this is sword work. So I'll try and explain it a little bit more. And what I want you to do is use the sword in one hand and the hand is empty in the other one. So what I want you to really locate is this sense of this grip and the raise of the sword. So the raise and the sinking, you're going to do the same thing. The hand's just at the side, and I just want you to feel that you're going to raise the sword up through the body and then just sink it down. So I'm not worried about cutting yet. All I'm thinking about is raising and lowering the sword. Just raising up, settling down. Just do one side. So the main issue with the sword work, with all the weapon work, is not doing it from above. So not raising the sword from the top or trying to raise the tip of the sword first. The main issue with it is really trying to get the sense that your weight is underneath the sword. So from this position, it's actually quite easy because the sword's quite low. I can just go that I anchor the body down, anchor into the sword, and it raises from below. So imagine the hips actually raise the movement. So we'll look today a little bit at this like kind of kokyu ho movement, and this kind of raising of the sword. Just feel that. Sword's nice and relaxed, and that just kind of raises up underneath it. Raises up underneath it. And just play with it, do both sides. You can kind of swing through it, open the shoulder out. You can just go from a static position and just raise it. Just really play with it. And just notice what's happening in the body. The more I go up and out with the sword, the more the body will start to get pulled out. So I need to meet that movement with a downwards dropping of the body. And that will actually happen naturally. If I just let the body go, relax into the ground, as I raise something up, it will naturally just drop down. So it's actually not something you do, it's something you allow to happen. That's it. Really simple. Just get this idea of kind of raising from below. That's it. Nice. Great. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. And now what I want to do is work with the hand. You're going to do the same thing. This side's going to raise up, and at the same time, you're going to raise the hand up. So you've got this and this. They're going to happen at the same time. Now, obviously, it's going to sound, it's a bit obvious, but you've got a grip in this side. So you've got the grip, hand gripping like this. So it will feel like you're doing this. But what I don't want to happen is like a constriction in that. I want to sense that as I'm doing it, it's a connection out. So what I'm doing is I'm passing this motion out to the tip of the sword. So I feel like the tip becomes my fingertips. So it's not that this is no longer the end of my body. This is the end of the body. So it's like, dunk, this extends out. So just play with both sides again and get dun. And just feel that you do the same motion. It's the same feeling exactly. But on one side, I'm connecting to something. And the other, I'm just bringing out. And just play with it again. You can kind of swing through it, a little bit like when we do these exercises, where you can just get the sense that you're going to raise from a static position. Just that. And just play with both sides, the sword in the left hand, this hand open. That's very nice. Okay. Okay, what I hope in this case, you can really feel that the blade is in the hand. So as well as this hand imitating this, what I want you to do is let this hand imitate the sword work. So what I want you to feel is what happens quite a lot as we do koki work is this. The hand comes out to this position. That's the kind of natural position to come to because it's actually an easy position for the hand because I don't need to do anything with the wrist to do that. But what the koki asks for, the koki kind of demands a sense that the hand blade comes in. So this whole part of the hand, this part, the sharp part of the blade of the hand, this part comes in and that stays facing forward. And to do that, I need really quite a mobile wrist to do it. So I really need in a sense to catch this curling up there. And the moment I go to that, I change it. So this goes to pushing this way because I'm pushing out with the hand. And this goes to kind of koki work. So just feel, you're going to raise it and let the side that's empty really find the feeling of the sword work in it. So you go da 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 da. Just see if you can kind of feel the connection between the handwork. You do it. That's it. Nick, good. Great. That's it. Good. Nice. Okay, do the same thing now. You're going to put both hands on the bokken. So the thing with the bokken is the grip's almost always the same. So it's almost it's always the right hand forward. What I want you to feel just to get the grip's so important for how we use the sword. So depending on how I use the grip on the sword, it will totally change what I get out of the bokken work. So a lot of the time we're either gripping from the side like this, or we're gripping too far over the top. And both of them will block any chance to really train the koki work. So what I want you to feel first, just focusing on the right hand, just have the sword out, don't worry about this hand. And just focus on in a way you're kind of going straight on top of the sword. So I want this part of the hand to kind of strike into the sword. So this part is going to hit the top of the sword. And then what I want to do is close the grip onto it. And I should feel that really, really like a vacuum seal on the sword. It should be like the hand just goes wonk onto the sword. And then I want you to just feel that you can kind of manipulate it just a little bit. Just play with the sword, play with the grip. And I should be able to really manipulate the sword quite freely with that movement, with the grip. So just go to a few, just kind of down, 1, 2, 3. And I want each time I grab the sword to be like that. I want done, straight onto the sword. And then I know as soon as I go into saburi work, I'm going to be working koki work. And as soon as I feel I'm slipping out of it, I'm working to the side, I'll stop working with koki. I'll go to working with kind of constriction and this kind of stuff. Just feel you can kind of go, fall on top of the sword with the grip, and just experiment a little bit with the wrist, like that. That's it. So there we go. Just really playing with the grip. There we go. And just do the same thing. So you're going to place the right hand, feel that it's on, release the left hand, and then just get the sense again, you can kind of fall onto the grip with the back hand. So again, depending on whether I'm at the side of the sword, rolled too far over the top, it will totally change what I get from it. So just get the sense that you're going to kind of let the heel of the hand Just fall onto it. This is the hard one to show because it's almost impossible to see as you do it, even in the dojo. So this one's always kind of hidden, but just get the sense that it's going to drop on that way, drop on that way. And it should feel pretty comfortable. It's almost like the way you would grip a hammer, like a sledgehammer, almost. Not quite, but got that same kind of security in the hands. And just play a little bit with the little fingers. Obviously, the grip that we train is really to train to get to the back of the body. And you do that really strongly by squeezing the two fingers, the two back fingers. And just play with the hands working together. So you're going to kind of open them, close them. What you basically need to do in terms of grip work is split the grip like this. So you need to do like a swap grip. If you can do this, then you can basically start to split the grip. So the hands basically got two areas for the grip, the front and the back. We train both of them in Aikido, but the strength, the stronger side, if you can train it, is the back side, because it links more into the core of the body. Much stronger grip. So just play with the hands on the sword a little bit, kind of gripping, sealing the grip, one side, the other, one side, the other. What I want to feel now is also what happens in the body. So obviously I can kind of just isolate the handwork and do this. But what I want to feel is what the change of the grip, what does it do with the body? What happens in the body? The key thing to think about is the back, all these kind of little lat area, all this part, and the back, the hips. So this whole space of the back of the body gets engaged with the movement of the sword. And just start to move around the space a little bit. Just feel that the sword's basically anchored into the body. It's like that. So it's soft, it's supple, but it's really engaged. You want to be really in a position where you can just move into something. There we go. So just move around the space a little bit. Exploring the grip, exploring the feet as well. Really, really crucial part of it. The main thing with the feet is just let them release. So as you're doing two things, you're gripping with the hands. And what I want to feel with the feet is that you release through to the floor. So you're actually doing the same thing. What you're doing is sealing the connection with the hands, and you're sealing the connection with the feet to the ground. So it's actually the same thing, but it feels like two different things. It feels like you're gripping with the hands and releasing through the feet. But it's actually both parts of the body sealing the connection. So just play with this idea. You should feel really connected, supple. You should feel like you can move anymore. The sword just follows. You feel pretty connected, just start to go to kind of rotations a little bit. Yeah, start to raise the sword a little bit, start to take it to the side a little bit. But all the time, feel that you can always connect it to the core. So that at the time you feel the sword's kind of connecting from the core, just make the movement a bit smaller. And as soon as you can get back into the core of the body, open it out again. So we're constantly going in and out of connection. So I did it, come out, bring it back, take it out. And the more I can kind of maintain that connection, the more kind of efficient the movement will be. That's really clear with it. So play a little bit with kind of short movement, big movement, and play a little bit with fast movement, slow movement. So you can do slow, you can also do fast. Slow is where you really make conscious changes, and fast is where you kind of test it. So they're both very useful. Going fast is really useful, but where I really make changes going slow. So just mix them in together. Play with rotations, all that kind of stuff. Go. That's it, nice. That's it. So what we tend to do when we pick up a sword at home, we pick up the sword and we go, I need to do saburi. I need to do the first saburi. But actually one of the best things you can do is pick up the sword and just play with it. Just have it in the house and play with it for 5 minutes. You can do saburi, you can do saburi and I do the same kind of playing with it. But the best thing is actually just play with it. Just move with the sword, connect with it. This is the stuff we don't do in the dojo that we actually really, really need to do. This is really important stuff. That's it. Right. Yeah, burning it down. Yeah, also play with one hand. Something we don't do a lot with the sword is just one hand work. So just play with it. Obviously, the katana is a two-handed weapon. It's designed for two hands. But if you're like Musashi, a little bit unorthodox person, play with one hand. Yeah. And just see what happens to the other hand when you work with one hand. What's going on in the other hand? What's it doing? What's it doing? Is it involved in the movement, or is it kind of not separated, disconnected? Okay, so we'll go into the first Saburi again, but keep that movement kind of playful movement. So really explore being in the kamae. Ideally, kind of keep the right side of the body forward, but you can also play with the left side. It's not really a problem. But it's a bit easier to kind of, if I keep the right side forward and move around, and then you're just going to come into the Saburi. So just place the body down, find the back, find the Saburi, and just do one at a time. You can you can decide. You can do 1, 2, 3, but keep it kind of short. Go back into a kind of free motion, or just kind of stepping through that. And really just feel when you feel really balanced, very connected to the weapon. I'm going to settle the body, and then I'm going to find the Saburi. And I'm going to make everyone kind of count. One more problem with Saburi work is repetition. Boom, 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 and counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do 50, 100. But if I do one with a really full sense of feeling, that's much more valuable than thousands of Saburi. There we go. That's it. Really, every Saburi, really focus. All the feeling. And if you feel when you do the first Saburi, when you go from motion, if you feel really connected, 90%, just keep cutting with it until you lose it. So until I find I lose that connection, it's gone. I've dropped to like below 90. I'm going to stop. Go back to movement. So just feel, if I feel like I'm really, really deep in a kind of dark, kind of bluish, it's on. And I keep going. And I've lost it. So I let it go. Just move. Okay. Find concentration. That's it. So we'll move on to the second Saburi today, and then we'll just work it from a static position. So there's 3 kind of parts to it. The first one, starting on the right side, raising the sword, bringing the back foot here. You're going to come into Jodan Kamae. So this is like a high posture above the head. And then from here, reach into the back, step forward, find the cut. And then the third part in this is just coming back into the Kamae. So just take your time with it in 3 parts. So the first is stepping back, raising the sword. Finding the back, cutting forward, and then finding the Kamae. And just feel each one of those movements is really essential. Rolling back, cutting forward. Okay, just a few points about this one. The main one is the way you use the sword through the body. So if you think about the first Saburi, what it is a really clear Shomanuchi. So it's through the spine and then cutting down through the body. So it's really using this kind of line through the body. Now the second Saburi is like an expansion on this movement. So what you're doing with the body is now stepping back, but I'm maintaining this center line through the body. So if you imagine the front of the body like a line, and there's a target in front of you, and there's a line through the ground, I want the sword to basically stick to that line. So the hips are going to move, but the sword's actually going to stay down this line. So all the time through the movement, it falls on that line. So if you think about it, you're just passing an arc again through this. But you're doing a complex movement now that you're rolling back first, and then pressing it forward. The big problem with this is too rigid upper body. So what tends to happen is I rotate the hips and the sword follows, and then the sword goes out to the back. So this is quite difficult because you can't see what's happening with the sword. So if you can see yourself on the screen, you can kind of switch the view on Zoom. So you can kind of go to gallery view or look at yourself. But just get the sense that you have the forward position, slide back, and the sword follows this line. And then from here it falls to the back, and then it cuts through that way. So just get used to this feeling of basically always kind of sticking to the center line with the Shomanuchi work. So 1 and 2, really, really Shomanuchi, which is like a really straight line through the body. That's it, Nick. Great. Great. Nice. This originally was like a defensive posture as well. So the idea is like you engage someone to the front. Although we do it really much more like an exercise now. The original idea with this is to come into a kamae, which is a kind of threat. Yes. That's it. Okay, just one point about the raise. So the raise is really important for us. So if I'm just focusing so much on the cut, then the raise doesn't really feel like it matters. The cut stepping. But if I'm thinking about kokyu work, then the raise is a really great opportunity for training kokyu. So what I want to think about in this case, you can think about kokyu like hand work, like this, but really kokyu is like the whole body movement, full body movement. So just think in terms of this link into the hands through this, link into the sword through the hand. And then what I want to feel is that you raise the sword through the hips. So there's really a clear feeling like this. So it's got really like a really big kokyu movement. But just think about what I want to do is, again, link the sword to the center through the periphery. And then find it here. So just draw that movement out a little bit. You can do this really like a compressive, slow breath work. A little bit like we do in number 3. Just do it now with number 2, so it's like it is. And I feel like I'm loaded, like a loaded spring. Either release it for the cut or just work with it in itself as a kind of raising exercise. That's it. And again, really trying to feel that you raise the sword from underneath. So I want the feeling like I'm raising something from below. Again, it's really like kokyu work. The more I can connect to the ground, the more I can transfer the ground into the hips, into the hands, and the more kind of powerful this movement will be later. That's it. Nice. Technical detail. There is lots of technical details. I just want to focus on the elbows. So one of the problems we've got in Aikido is we put the elbows out too much. So we go to da and da, and then as soon as I get the elbow out of structure, it's actually this connection is quite weak because the hand's got nothing to kind of fall back on. It's really trying to use the shoulder to do it. And this is where I'll muscle through. I'll engage bicep and bam, push through. So what I want to feel with all the kokyu work is that the joints are always kind of in place. So feel that the connection is always like the hand, the wrist, elbow, shoulder, and then to the center. So in this case, just watch this moment. The moment I do this, with their hands, I will kind of pull the elbows out of structure. Now that's okay for some styles, some ways of using the body. But again, in terms of like using kokyu, in terms of how we use it, I want the elbows to feel kind of heavy. So I want this feeling. It's like if I'm to drop, just try this as an exercise. Just there, drop the grip, and just feel that the elbow is basically resting into the hip. So it's like this connection. The moment I do that, the elbow falls out of structure. And then it's basically, I need to tighten the shoulder and push through to move the arm. But just feel that the hand, the elbow is basically anchored into the center. It's that, my hands just bump, bump. And then as I go, the elbow goes bump, 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 bump. If I pull it out of structure, it doesn't come with me. It falls away. And then I've got to tighten everything. And you're forced to pull it. So just get a really a clear sense of it. This is the easiest way to kind of feel it. Right there, and then go. Just let it go. It's as if you've got like a heavy weight tied to the shoulder, tied to the elbow, and it's like pulling the elbow down constantly. Just imagine all the time the elbow's heavy. Oh, that's it, Nick. Great. Good. And just expect, the key thing to feel is the connection between the elbows and the hips. So one thing you might find useful is if you think about Taina Henko, if you think about this kind of position, what I want to feel is that the elbow is basically attached to the hip. So that heaviness from the elbow is actually coming from the hip. So da, 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 da. And then just feel it. That. Okay, take this as an exercise. We'll kind of work with the sword as well. Just kind of imagine you've got the sword first, and just feel that you raise it with the hands, engage the hip, and press it forward. So don't yet worry about the hands, but I just want you to think, if you think about the structure from the shoulder to the elbow, and forget this part of the hand, as if it's kind of dead, as if it doesn't exist. So you're kind of here, and then just focus on raising up, elbow, shoulder, and then sinking them in forward. Just kind of get that structure. It's a little bit like being a chicken, but you don't want to do chicken. Saito Sensei, sometimes in the videos you can see him doing this, and he talks about people in the dojo doing chicken Aikido or bird Aikido. So they're doing like this kind of stuff, and he wants them to do this kind of stuff. But not that kind of stuff. We do this all the time when we do Suwariwaza. So you need to get in a way like that, something underneath. And the elbows are really important structure for the body. Just play with it. Sometimes take the sword back and go through the movement. Sometimes just do it empty-handed. But just feel you. And the focus is really on what's happening in the elbows and the connection between the elbows and the hip. That's it. Yeah, good. Some light. Yeah, that's it. Good, so just come back again into movement, just moving around the space, then keeping the connection strong. And when you feel like really connected, just settle into the posture, settle into the kamae, and then just go back, and then find the second saruri. And then just come back into kamae, just go back into movement. Really look for the middle of the posture as you're in movement. Very short, simple movements. Settle, find a sense of calm, and then go. And release it. Really concentrate. Try and engage the whole body all the time in what you're doing. It's basically the key to get the most out of it. Okay, just play one thing just for a couple of minutes. Just play with the cut. So focusing on the raise really heavy. Now, one tendency is to get that kind of heaviness, get the kind of load the spring, and then bunk, it goes. So it goes somewhere up. So that movement kind of dissipates. It goes boom, somewhere out here. Get the feeling as you initiate the cut. So I load the spring, and then I keep it down, and then press it forward. So that movement forward, or any movement we make forward, is always based in a downwards compression. So the compression down and then out. So the main thing to watch for is that as I go on step forward, lose the body, lose the ground. So really get a sense that you keep the ground underneath. Just lengthen that moment when you go towards the cut, when you go into the cut. That's it. I feel you're constantly like hugging the ground. That's it. That's it. And then you get something really relaxed, very heavy. Also use the breath. So we just not do ki, but it's actually just about the breath. And the ki can be totally silent, but it's just about the compression. The breath. Again, it's just engaging the whole body in the movement. And one major thing for me is also like what happens at the cut. Right after the cut, what happens with the body? So just notice this when what tends to happen is if I've got like excess force coming out to the sword, then the body settles. Like and then the body settles. Just get the sense that you're basically like a big heavy weight, and you want to take the weight and place it into the ground in front of you. So it's like I think of myself like a heavy weight, 69 kilos or something like this, and then just feel what happens. I'm in tension totally. So I need to really go up to a point where I kind of roll the body back, and then I need to get the sense like I impact the ground with the body. Boom. So if you think about like taking a chunk, big, heavy rock, if you were to just drop it forward into the ground, it would just go into the ground. So imagine the ground's just basically going to receive your weight totally, and it's not going to kind of and then settle. So things, basically heavy things, just settle. They don't kind of wobble and then settle. Boom, and then that. So just try and get the sense of that as you come forward. Again, it's this analogy. It's like dropping a rock in water. It's like boom, it just sinks. So everything just sinks down. Go through. Again. Listen to what's happening in the body. That's it. That's it. Good. Nice. Great. That's it. Okay, just drop the sword. We're just going to do one Kokyu movement. So just do the right side, and then you can experiment with the left side within your own time. Just keep the right side to here. What I want you to do is do the same movement as the second subverted. So it's a little bit different, but the hip works the same. You go back, gather the hands up, and then what I want you to feel is that you press this motion through. Now what I'm not doing is raising the hands up like I would do with the sword, but the feeling's the same. Sinking through, draining through the hip, and then compressing forward and pressing out with Kokyu. So just try and get a sense that the sword work becomes something much more like this. The sword work becomes much more like this. So the sword work becomes a bit more circular and a bit more compressed. So just work from here, roll back, press it forward. Again, look for the kind of heaviness. Something heavy drops right at your feet. And let everything just happen here, right in the core of the body. All through. Just make it as focused as you can. Right. So there's obviously different levels if you do that, and you're all kind of slightly different levels. So depending on where you are in the kind of system, on the grades and all this kind of stuff, just focus on a different kind of quality. So those of you that are kind of new to it, or you're not totally sure of the movement, what I want to focus on is like a really clear basic. So coming from this position, rolling back, and then pressing through. And just focus, the main thing from this level is like hands and feet. Hands, feet, hands, feet. And for those of you that are maybe a little bit higher, you've got like second dan, first dan, all this kind of stuff. Just focus on a bit more flexibility. So there's something a bit more flexible happening, and that's coming out from the center. Just depending on where you are, just play with it. Make a really clear basic. Coordination. And then what you want to do is take that coordination and make it fluid. Just play with it. This is where you're really working on the kind of your workout flexibility through the movement. Yes, the last few. Right. And just the last few, if you want to open the movement out, just think of like the movements you do with the sword, just kind of moving the body around a little bit. And when you feel kind of totally comfortable in the center, roll it back, take it forward, and come back into the movement. So make it as complex as you like, as big as you like, or as simple as you like. Very simple. Whatever you do, just fully engage with it. The whole body does the movement. Nice. Very nice. Right. Okie dokie, good, we'll stop there. So this is really something you can really play with. So also the more I can start to unlock the weapon work into what I'm doing when I do the body work, the more I'll get from both systems. So they kind of feed each other as you do them. The key thing with this is this connection, this elbow, the elbow to the hip. And what's happening in the hand shouldn't be isolated, but should always be kind of reflecting what's happening in the hip. So whatever level you're working at, whether you're working in this kind of static level, or you're working in the fluid level, that movement's always going to be the same. That connection's always the same. It's just a matter of whether I'm smoothing the movement out or focusing on it much more in a kind of static way. So that's it. Hi. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Michael.
Very good.
Thank you, Michael.
You.